Welcome to Your Hero Academia by Fangirl48 on AO3. Chapter 10. Aim to pass the Quirk Apprehension Test. A new sense of camaraderie was born amongst the new students of 1A. It was born out of the instinct to share hatred for their new teacher as he explained the test to them. Even with the allowance of their quirks for the test, the looming threat of explosion hovered above them. But if the students wanted to be heroes, this was their starting line. They just had to make sure they didn't fall flat on their faces at the starting bell. All right, everyone. Izuku clapped his hands together, stepping away from Aizawa. Before we start the test, everyone line up for some quick warm-up exercises. There's no time for those, Aizawa said, looking at Izuku. Not if we want to get everyone done before lunch. And risk injury and muscle soreness? No way. Izuku let out an exasperated gasp. We'll be doing most of these tests in groups. The students can record their scores, while I have our dear mechanic, Army, record their performance for a later discussion. As if on cue, 4 small robots appeared on the field. 2 were pushing wagons with clipboards, writing utensils, and notebooks. The other had a camera equipment that was already set up on the field. Hey, Bakugo yelled, stopping towards Izuku. Don't act like you're in charge. Izuku looked at the rest of his classmates and saw a mix of curious, annoyed, and resentful gazes. In truth, Izuku's authority as a teacher was primarily academic. Nezu had set up a tutoring program for Izuku to run through the years. It was mainly to help the students who fall behind trying to juggle school and the hero duties. Izuku had learned to balance being a teacher and being a classmate as well as a future hero. Taking a deep breath, the boy said a silent prayer to Tomura, asking for his older brother's strength and patience. I am your teacher and classmate, Bakugo. Green clashed with red. You may not like it, or me, but when I'm acting as your teacher, you will respect me and that authority. Do I make myself clear? Lightning cracked between the pair. Thankfully, the tension atmosphere was broken by Kirishima, putting his hands up. Does that mean you're not doing the test, Midoriya Sensei? Breaking away, Izuku looked back at the class and shook his head. Absolutely not. I'm doing the same as you. This is why I wanted us to do these warm-ups first. Recovery girls shouldn't be bothered on the first day because of something so illogical. I see. Yaoyorozu clutched her clipboard tighter. That would make the most sense. Warming up would loosen our muscles and help us finish the test in the time frame Sensei wants us to. Oh, Mina said, fist hitting her open palm. Plus, breakfast was not too long ago. Stomach cramps this early would major suck. A slow wave of murmuring broke out amongst the students. That's all right, Izuku nodded. Now, everyone, please stand arm lengths apart. The students did as they were told, mimicking their classmates' outstretched arms. Izuku even moved away from Bakugo, giving the explosion more space. And we'll start with the arms. Reach high, everyone. It took 10 minutes for the class to warm up enough. By the time they were finished, the robots had set up the fields and cameras for the test. Now that everyone's finally ready, Aizawa spoke, holding a fancier-looking folder. Let's begin. The class was divided into 4 groups of 5. It was split to mimic the class's seating chart. When one of the group was done, they would follow one of the robots to the nearest test. Everyone did their best to combine their natural abilities and quirks to get a better score. Sidestepping was easily dominated by Mineta. The boy used his quirk to create large bubble mounts on either side of him so he could bounce back and forth between them at increasing speed. Both teachers were impressed by this tactic, as well as the great skills shown by Ashido and Hirokuri showing during their first turns. The pink girl hummed a song underneath her breath and moved her arms around like she was dancing. Hagakure, however, showed impressive speed as she moved back and forth. Many of the students showed remarkable speed during the 50-meter run. Students like Bakugo, Todoroki, and Ayomama used their quirks to pull out ahead of others. The naval user had to sit out for a while after he was done, but none could compare to the patented speed that Ida possessed. The engine user blew the competition away in a large cloud of dust. Standing long jumps ended in two-way tie. Bakugo and Uraraka won by using their quirks and propelling themselves far beyond the pit, while others like Ashiro, Ojiro, and Tokoyami and Yariyozu just barely hit the end of the sand pit. They used their quirks to prepare themselves, but couldn't go as far as the others. Izuku, who had been watching everyone closely, was now starting to see who needed the most work in terms of physical strength. By the time the 20-meter shuttle run came around, the gym had been well cleared of staffs and students. And unlike the previous 50-meter run, most of the students didn't have enough control of their quirks for this exercise. Ida tried a few times and nearly ran into the gym wall a couple of times before giving up. Many students didn't use theirs aside from a bit of a boost, except for Todoroki, who glided back and forth across an ice path with all the skills of a professional skater. Raw power was the point of the grip strength, which Shojiro had plenty of. The gentle pair of Koda and Soto, as well as manly Kirishima, was only lagging a few points behind the doped arm user. The students' flexibility during Toy Joint divided the class equally. Half were able to go beyond the exercise like Ashido and Kaminari. Others like Todoroki and Ida had rigid personalities reflected in their scores. Pull-ups had a couple of dark horses take center stage. Sero and Jiro each took the top spot in the test. The tape user attributed his skills to the strength he needed his arms to use his quirk so quickly. Jiro stated that music wouldn't be rocking to play with weak noodle arms. This left the last event. Softball throw was everyone's last chance to give it their all. To avoid explosion, they would have to pull out all the stops. Since Bakugo had already done his 705.2 meters was the distance to beat, but nobody even came close to breaking the 600-meter range. Except for Uraraka, who just floated the ball into space. Hey, you damn nerd! Bakugo stomped up to Izuku, who was stretching. Don't think I don't see what you've been doing. Izuku didn't even pause his movements. And what's that, Bakugo? You haven't been using your quirk this whole time. The explosion user set off a series of small blasts in his hands. What do you think, you're better than us? A few students turned to look at the altercation. Seriously? Kaminari said from his spot on the ground, completely exhausted from the last test. Dude, what are you, a machine? I just have a lot of energy. Izuku stopped moving. As for my quirk, you're right, I haven't used it once. Not because I don't want to, Izuku interrupted. It's just that repeated use of it could make me pass out. Ida and Uraraka suddenly remembered how Izuku had fainted after saving the gravity user. Energy is needed to use a quirk like that. Something that could cut through metal like a hot knife through butter must be considerable. Suddenly, the pair were glad that their teacher/classmate hadn't used his quirks. Expulsion might have been a lot more plausible if they had to compete against whatever Izuku's quirk was at every turn. But since you're interested, let me show you. Izuku went and grabbed the ball, heading to the pitch. Taking a deep breath, Izuku focused all or nothing, letting the quirk's power fill his entire body. This was different from the hit and run tactics he was used with Inko and Hisashi's. All these months, Aizawa taught Izuku not to use his power-ups in one go, and given him a painful refresher course after the entrance exam. All Might's hands clenched the wall tightly from behind the gymnasium as he watched bright green, nearly white speckles flicker across Izuku's. The past all-for-one users watched with serious faces through his eyes. Each was still trying to form an opinion on the boy. Izuku was like Tomura and so much as all for one. Aizawa got into position as red veins rose up, earning sharp gasps from the students. Pulling his arms back like a seasoned pitcher, Izuku put as much energy into his arm as possible. throwing the ball. Smash! He yelled, releasing the ball. A sonic boom blew backward towards the rest of the class and beyond, traveling to the school, shaking the window slightly. Nezu crackled with glee in the principal's office as the other teachers tried to calm down the rest of the student body. Dark eyes just stared down at the numbers as they keep getting higher and higher. Eventually, the ball reached wherever it was heading and slowed down. As soon as the numbers were still, Aizawa turned the device towards the student. 705.3. There was a brief moment of silence before the class erupted. Everyone tried talking at once, asking Izuku questions a mile a minute. Quiet! Aizawa frowned, activating his quirk. The silence was instantaneously this time. Nodding, the underground hero placed the last score into the computer, letting it calculate the class's rankings. Moments later, it beeped, and Aizawa pressed the hologram projector, showing everyone. Here's your results. 1. Momu Yaoyorozu. 2. Izuku Midoriya. 3. Shoto Todoroki. 4. Katsuki Bakugo. 5. Tenya Ida. 6. Fukaji Tokoyami. 7. Mezu Shoji. 8. Mashiro Ojiro. 9. Ijiro Kirishima. 10. Mina Ashido. 11. Ochako Uraraka. 12. Koji Koda. 13. Rido Sato. 14. Su Ashido. 15. Yagi Ayomomo. 16. Hanta Sero. 17. Denki Kaminari. 18. Koya Jiro. 19. Toru Hagakure. 20. Miru Mineta. How come Midoriya's not first? Kirishima asked, looking at the top. That throw just now was so manly. Midoriya has only excelled at one test, Todoroki answered, focusing on the two names above his own. Meanwhile, Yaoyorozu consistently showed high marks in every test, even if she didn't take the top spot. Momo felt giddiness bubble inside herself at the pride. The creation user had worked hard with trainers her parents had hired to maintain her peak physical condition. On the other hand, Mineta was sweating bullets as he looked at the number 20 next to his name. Oh, and that whole expulsion thing, Aizawa said, sending the file off to the server for future use. That was just a logical deception, to make sure you all gave it your best on the test. Izuku snorted at the loud cries that followed. He and Toshi had given a look at Aizawa's past students' roster. The all-or-nothing user knew this was anything but a lie. I'm surprised you didn't figure it out yourselves, Yaoyorozu said, looking at everyone. I'm sorry, I guess I should have said something. Yeah, you should have, everyone thought, anonymously. Walking over, Izuku motioned the creator user to bend down slightly, whispering something in her ear. Yaoyorozu turned bright red as she was told about what happened to the last class Aizawa taught. Really? Izuku nodded. Go visit the second year's classrooms if you don't believe me. Turning around, Aizawa glanced back at the students. Get changed and head back to the classroom. There should be a syllabus on my desk for each to take home. Midoriya, you're in charge of making sure everyone gets one. Izuku saluted, the underground hero, turning to look at everyone. All right. The vigilant-haired boy spoke, clapping his hands together. Everyone go get changed. We'll meet up in the class after lunch. We'll be going over our curriculum and school year. Many students made sour faces, but did as they were told, leaving Izuku and the 4 robots behind to clean up the mess. Ha ha ha! A loud voice echoed before All Might appeared in front of Izuku. Young Midoriya, I am here! Izuku looked at the blonde and gave a soft smile. Yes, you are, but how many times have I told you, you don't need to buff up to come to see me. It puts a strain on you when you do. The number 1 hero nodded, kicking some dirt like a little kid. I know, but I can't let the students get suspicious. Pre-class jitters? Izuku asked. All Might nodded slightly. It was all well and good to say he wanted to teach the next generation, but watching Izuku and Aizawa handle the students right now made Toshinori realize that he couldn't be like them. Toshinori had always had a soft spot when it came to kids. Izuku pats the Hideous yellow suit. It's okay, you got this. And if you're still nervous, I'm sure Izawa would be more than happy to sit until you find your teaching legs. Really? All Might asked nervously. A shudder of fear ran down his spine at the memory of the last time he had bothered Izawa when he wasn't in class. Red eyes peering out from him inside his sleeping bag still made an appearance in Toshinori's nightmares. Izuku nodded. Never hurts to ask. Now, go on and play nice with the other kids. All Might chuckled. You know you're not really older than us, right? Being frozen was like the universe hitting the pause button. You didn't actually age. Yet I'm still more mature than the most of you heroes. Izuku crippled back. Jetpacks. Izuku scowled. Low blow. The pair continued to chat as they made their way back inside. All Might quickly ran away as soon as they set foot inside the building so that no students could see them. After changing, Izuku did not head to the cafeteria, but instead to the support labs. Popping his head inside, he was not surprised to find May crackling as she hovered over something, a Welch torch in her hand. Not wanting to disturb the inventor, Izuku turned his attention to where Power Loader was watching against the wall. How's she doing? The support hero gave a cross between a grin and a grimace. I'm gonna have to pry her away from those labs every night. She's already made 3 things, and the first day isn't even over yet. May's enthusiastic, Izuku shrugged. Just make sure to put food and water near her, and she'll be fine. And if she gets too tough, you can call me, and I can deal with her. Funnier, her mom said the same thing. Paraloto remarked. Pretty sure Mrs. Hatsumi should be the last resort. Izuku shuddered, remembering the furious look on the woman's face when Izuku presented Ochako to her. Apparently, no child was off limits to her as Miss Hatsumi's and Uraraka's parents discussed the gravity user punishment over the phone. But, let's say, hypothetically, I could get May out of the labs. Hypothetically, Powerloader turned to look at Izuku. If you can get her to bathe, eat, and sleep, I'll sign off on it, just as long as it doesn't affect her grades. Score, Izuku thought, tucking this promise away. Call the all-or-nothing user crazy, but he had a feeling that May's knowledge of support would come in handy soon. Not to mention her parent pending, UA admitting baby might come in handy. Waving goodbye to the hero's support, Izuku walked to where the third-year classes had started. Opening the door labeled 3A, he saw 2 members of the year's Big 3 trying to convince the third to eat in the cafeteria with them. Come on, Tam. Najiri tugged the dark-haired boy's arm. I want to go see all the cute first years. The cafeteria is going to have so many people in it. The Magnifest used to groan, trying to curl up. I want to go home. Come on, Tamaki. Mirio smiled, holding out a hand. We can find a quiet spot to eat. Or we can compromise, Izuku said, startling the 3 heroes as they looked up and saw him standing there. There's this great spot outside near the cafeteria windows. Izuku! Hado squealed, letting go of Akajimi and pulling the boy into a hug. I haven't seen you in forever. Did you get taller? Are you an official yet? Oh, are your classmates nice? Are they mean? Any interesting quirks? Izuku chuckled. I don't know if I'm taller yet, but hopefully I'll just be as tall as my brother in the future. Yes, Nezu finally made me an official student. I have a mix of nice and problem classmates. It seems, and their quirks are fascinating. How many survived the Aizawa test? Mijiro asked. All of us. What? The permit user shouted, looking surprised. Hado and Akajimi were in 1B during their first year. Mirio was in 1A. And of his 20 classmates, only 12 were left after Aizawa test. I owe Tamaki lunch anyways, Izuku said, looking at the Magnifest user. Let's find a shady spot to talk. Bakugo's whole, like, he didn't say, I know what you are, but practically is what he's insinuating. Like, he knows what Izuku is. He knows what Izuku's up to. The whole, I know what you are. Bakugo, no you don't. Calm your horses. Let's sit down. Sit down. And think about this. Calm your horses. Because, like, I don't know, he's so, like, I want to see how that develops. You know, Bakugo thinking that Izuku is a spy or a villain. That's gonna be very interesting. And I can't wait to see that, you know, roll a bit more. You know, because it's gonna be fucking hilarious. What is this note? I'm sorry, this note just says, saying the ranks, Oh, saying the ranks. Oh my god, the whole 1. Momo Yarurozu. 2. Izuku Midoriya. 3. Blah blah blah. 4. Blah blah. Oh my god. I was sitting there, I'm just like, this is just repetitive. And I'm just going and I'm going and I'm like, did I even say that name right? I don't know. I'm on a roll. I ain't going back. Blah 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 blah. I finished and I'm like, okay, great, amazing. Now let me just reread that because I spaced out halfway through saying all of that. Actually, no, I think I spaced out after like the 5th. After 5, I spaced out. 5 was my limit. Okay, All Might was right when he was talking to Izuku after the training thing. The whole, you know, you're not actually older than us. Thank you. Finally, somebody says it. Finally! Oh my god. I've been preaching this the whole time. Yes! All Might puts it in great terms. Izuku was put on pause, and now he's played again. He didn't actually age. And Izuku's little, well, I'm maturer than you pro-heroes. And All Might's simple jetpack. I love that. I love that so much. For some reason, I actually really do enjoy their dynamic, which is weird, because normally I'm not a big fan of All Might, right? But this dynamic in particular, I will be a fan of, right? It's more of a fatherly dynamic, you know, family dynamic, and I'm warming up to this dynamic. As always, my raindrops, make sure to eat, sleep, drink water, take your meds, have a wonderful day or night. Join our community Discord server, link is in the description. Subscribe to see more of my content, and thank you so much for watching.